Hello everyone and welcome to the McGonigle Boxing Podcast. Let's get down to it. Breaking news this week, Brook versus Crawford. It looks like it's going to happen. It looks like we're probably looking at September, October, but it's going to be the next fight. Now, yes, in some ways I'm not shocked. In some ways I am, because I believe both fighters have a lot of options. Both fighters don't need to take this fight, but I'm not surprised they have, if that makes sense, because this is the money fight for Brook, especially winding down his career. His last big chance for big payday and a big fight. And for Crawford, this is probably his breakthrough fight. Even though that sounds slightly crazy, he's a 308 world champion. He's pound for pound in the top two. Some say one. I don't. I still think Lomachenko holds on to that. I have him above Canelo, though, that's for sure. But he's not a pay-per-view star in the States. And outside of the boxing world, he's not that well known. So it's a big fight for him. And let's face it, who's he going to fight apart from Spence, who we don't know how long he's going to be out for. If you ask me, he should be out for the whole year after that horrendous car crash in late 2019. So where does he go from there? A lot of middleweights are already tied up, and, you know, he's too small for them ultimately. I can't see Crawford now. What is he, 32? Pushing 33. He's not going to be moving up anymore, I don't think. Don't forget he started at the lower weights. You know, he's a lightweight world champion, so he can't keep pushing his luck. I think welterweight's perfect weight for him. Same with Brook. I mean, you're looking at the light middles, aren't you? I mean, apart from Charlo, which is a big fight, but obviously he's erratic, he's a little bit wild. You don't know about Charlo, if he's going to pull out. You don't know where his headspace is, and it's a risky fight. I can't see Charlo coming down to the UK for that one. I think he's very much a stakes fighter at the moment. So, you know, if you don't want him, who else is there in the light middle for Brook? You got Gerald Hurd. Is that a big money fight for him? I'm not so sure. And the rest of the champions, they're not really well known, but they are tough fights, aren't they? So it makes sense for Brook. The Khan fight is not going to happen. We've all held out for that for years now. If it was going to happen, it would have happened. I think Khan's just looking to ride out in the sunset with a nice, easy few paydays. He's not going to take on Brook, because at this stage, Brook, although he's on the decline, still has far more to offer in the world rankings and the world status than Khan does. And I don't think that fight goes past 5, and I think Khan knows that now. I think Brook knocks him out. But this is a tough fight for Brook. I think, had it been 3 years ago, what I mean by that is the Kell Brook of 2017 against the Crawford of now. I like Brook's chances big time, because I think Crawford, as he's shown in his last fight, he can get hurt. He can get hit and hurt at this weight. And Brook, there's no bigger man in welterweight than Kell Brook right now. However, his inactivity, the fact he's older, I believe, obviously his 2 horrendous eye injuries against Spence and Triple G are big factors in this. And I think Brook's going to have that in the back of his mind. I think Crawford will be wise to pepper them eyes. I think he will do. And I just think his activity, his relentless pressure, will eventually wear down a suspect stamina Brook at this stage in his career. His inactivity will catch up with him. I believe he'll start very strong. I think he's got the boxing skills to match Crawford early on, no question. I won't be surprised if Brook doesn't win at least 3 of the first 4 rounds. I really believe that. I think he's going to stick it on Crawford. And I don't think Crawford, even though he'll be warned, I don't think he'll be overly concerned with Brook, and that will be his downfall early on. However, the great fighters, Lomachenko, Mayweather had the same thing. Crawford has the same thing. They adapt. He's got the ability to go from orthodox to southpaw, from southpaw to orthodox. I believe he'll switch. I think he'll switch stances. He'll go to the southpaw stance. When he realises he's being tagged early, he's been hit early, he'll adapt. He'll then start to go out of range. He won't be in the firing line so much. He'll start peppering Brook and coming in and out like a sniper, and just relentless pressure educated pressure, I think will get to Brook, like Spence did. But the only difference is, I think, just purely the fact the eye injury was a major factor against Spence. I just don't think that's going to be the case in this fight. Yes, it could rear its ugly head, but I think either way, Spence beats him with or without that injury reoccurring. I think it's going to be a stoppage around 9 or 10, where once Crawford's adapted, once he's got the respect of Brook, which he probably didn't have early on, he's going to adapt, and like he always does, he's going to find a way. And I just think the inactivity is going to catch up with Brook. You can't go from 3 years of nothing pretty much, fighting, let's be honest, C-level fighters, to fighting the second best pound for pound. It just doesn't add up. He should have had a lot of activity. He needed at least 2 more fights of good level before stepping in with Crawford. I think this jumps too much for Brook at this stage of his career. And although I'm expecting a partisan crowd, Sheffield or Manchester, I think they'll ball Brook on early. They encourage him. He'll be spurred on, and he'll have a big, strong start. They can only carry him so far. And I think, sadly, like I said, after about 4, the pace of the fight, Crawford's skill will start to take over. And I just think it'll be a relentless pressure where either Ingle pulls him out or the ref steps in when Brook starts taking the pounding. He can't get off his shots anymore because Crawford is out that far in line and he's adapted to Brook's punches. But it's going to be a good fight early on, no question. I mean, Brook's a skillful fighter himself, but he can't adapt as well as Crawford, and this is the big difference. The all-round skills of Crawford, I believe, will be too much. It would have been a different case 3 years ago with Brook active, more confident, and just a younger man, wasn't he? I still believe he's got the punch power to hurt Crawford, no question, but I don't think he's got the speed or the legs anymore, and that's going to be a big factor. A great fight, though. Obviously, it's going to be pay-per-view. There's no way you're going to get Crawford over here otherwise. And so you've got to be willing to, stuff up and cough up £20. But I think it'll be worth it. I think the atmosphere alone. And ultimately, I think this will be Brook's swan song. I think he'll probably retire when he loses, which I believe he will do. But I think it'll be a big, proud showing from him. He'll hang his head up high in the ring, and I think he'll get a standing ovation from everyone, including Crawford. I can see that happening, but I think this is Brook's swan song. In some ways, I'm surprised he didn't try and target an easier champion at light middleweight, but then again, at his age, and let's be honest, Brook never been the most self-disciplined. He's probably thinking, if I'm going to train now hard at this age, I've already made my money, I want a big fight to spur me on. So he probably needs this fight to get himself in the gym and, highly motivated for a fight. I can't see him, even for a world title, getting motivated for a nobody, even a Gerald Hurd, where, the payday isn't great and the fight isn't that big outside the boxing world. Whereas this, the American superstar coming over, Eddie Hearn getting behind it, it will be a big, big deal in this country. Even for the non-boxing fans, and it'll be a big payday. It'll be pay-per-view, and I can see Brook getting up for this, even though he's probably going to lose, and that's why he's taking it. So, can't blame him. He's probably going to, like I say, earn double the money he would do for any other fight in the light middle or the welterweight. Would I like to see him fight Danny Garcia, something like that? Yes. Even a Pacquiao would have been a good fight for Brook. But obviously, I think Pacquiao's going to be tied up with other fights, possibly Mikey Garcia, they're saying. So this was the next viable option, wasn't it? Furman's out. I think Brook could have beaten him. I think Brook could beat Danny Garcia, but again, he's probably tied up in some mandatory challenges. I know he's number 1 contender. So he'll be calling out probably Spence. I think he's looking down that direction. So then you're left with limited options. And this was a big payday, a big chance. Crawford's free at the moment. He hasn't got any tied up fights. So why not? So I wish Brook well. I think if he's going to win, I'm not saying it's impossible for him. I give him a 10% chance. I think he's got to get on top of Crawford early. Don't let Crawford settle into a rhythm or let his confidence grow. unsettling, rough him up, and look for that big right hand of his. Be the bigger man. He's a bigger man than Crawford, stronger, still stronger. He hasn't got the speed or skill of Crawford, but he'll rough him up. Don't let Crawford try and fight him from the range. Don't give Crawford time to get off his shots. Get in his face, get early, go to the body, go to head, mix your punches up and hurt him. Look to counter him and hit him hard whenever you see the opportunity. He's got to go for him early, I think. That's the way Brook can do, is get the crowd behind him, look for the early stoppage. I reckon there's a 10% chance of that. I'm not saying Brook has got a huge chance to win this fight, but if you're going to win it, that's what he's got to do. Don't try and outbox the boxer. You know, it's a fatal error. Brook's a good boxer, but he's not on the Crawford level. Get in there. Don't do a Tony Bellew against Usyk. Do a Chisora, which he's going to do against Usyk. Get in his face. Try and hurt Crawford early. Go to his body. Go, you know, test that lightweight frame up. You know, rough him up. Fight dirty when you can, and look for that big right hand. Use the power you've got. Anyway, looking forward to it. I'll definitely be tuning in. Like I say, though, sadly, I'd love Brook to do it, but I think Crawford's going to stop him around 9 or 10. Let me know what you guys think, though. Drop me a line on my Instagram, the McGonigle Boxing Podcast, my Facebook, Touch Gloves Boxing, or YouTube, the McGonigle Boxing Podcast, and I will be back next week, guys. All right, I'm out. Take care. Bye.